To check out the entire show, hit the link at the bottom of the screen, available exclusively on odds.com. We move on to the second game on Sunday, 4:40 p.m. Eastern. Chicago Bears at New Orleans Saints. Mercedes-Benz Superdome, New Orleans, Louisiana. Bears 8-8, 5-3 on the road. Saints 12-4, 6-2 at home. Let's see.
Just before we dive in this, Devontae Smith won the Heisman.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, happy about that. I'm
Yeah.
so glad it just wasn't a quarterback.
Yeah, Devontae Smith was absolutely spectacular. And we did film our big CFP National Championship show yesterday. So that's up on the Odds YouTube page, Odds HQ. And it was extremely enjoyable. I mean, we had the best bowl season that I expect in my group work, the best that I'll ever do. 27-9. It was just glorious. So I am on Bama first half full game under, which goes against a lot of gapping, but whatever. Okay, Bears, Saints. Saints 12-4, 6-2 at home. And we are dealing with the Saints open up as 9. It's 9.5 point favorites. That goes to 10. Then that goes to 10.5. And this total is sitting at opening at 47.5 and now at 47. And I would like to take a team total under for the Bears in the first half. That was my thought process, and I wanted to talk it out with you guys before I pulled the trigger. But I think that the Bears, and that kind of goes in with the Saints' first half play, which I don't really want to be on that big of a favorite, but it does sort of correlate with how I expect this to go. Let's talk about the Bears first, Bebsie. In a must-win game, Bears got demolished 35-16 at home to the Packers. Bebsie was on the Packers in that spot and won that easily. Trubisky completed 67% of his passes for 2,055 yards, 16 touchdowns, 8 interceptions in 10 games. Allen Robinson got 102 passes for 1,250 yards, 6 touchdowns. Jimmy Graham was back to being a red zone threat with 8 touchdowns. There are issues, and there's a lot of issues with the Bears. The Bears are a banged-up squad right now. The first issue we'll talk about is on offense, Darnell Mooney. He set career highs with 11 receptions, 93 yards in that game, and became a very decent option because when you defend the Bears, you have to focus on Allen Robinson, and the Bears haven't had that second threat until Darnell Mooney started stepping up late in the season. He hurt his ankle in the fourth and may or may not be in the lineup. 61 receptions, 631 yards, 4 touchdowns during his rookie season. Montgomery was great this year, ran for 1,070 yards, 8 touchdowns. So Roquan Smith, leading tackler, he hurt his elbow, and they were very private as to how bad it is. He left the game late in the first quarter. He is so extremely important to this defense. Buster Skrine, Jalen Johnson, Deion Bush are already all hurt. And now you're going to lose Roquan Smith. I do not want to take a big favorite in wildcard week. And if Darnell Mooney's not there, I really think the Saints can figure out how to slow down the Bears early. Before we head over to Bebsie, Birdie says, I'm taking the Bears, and I bet the over already. When Kamara is announced as back, which he can because it's a Sunday game, both spread and total will jump. So bet over now, wait on the spread. And Gas Station Sushi is on the Bears plus 10. Bebsie, talk to us about this Bears. Do you see value as a big underdog?
Yeah, I do, just because the Bears have been playing much better football lately. You pointed out that all-important injury, but again, I think a lot of it has had to do with their ability to build a run game. And apologies to Shane Schwader, who was screaming at me in the chat to back off my Montgomery props that had hit week after week after week. He got close. He didn't hit. All I could think about was Schwader yelling at me. So I know he's not here right now, but apologies. You were right. I should have backed off. But I think that's really been what's working I think that's what's kept Nagy's job because midway through this season, I thought for sure, they were looking abysmal. I thought Nagy was going to get fired. I think figuring out that run game and getting Trubisky to be a game manager and a serviceable quarterback has really turned this offense into a semi-functional offense where they were abysmal for the first half of this season. I think there's a ton of value in this. This is a playoff game, and this is a Bears defense that even with the injuries, I really worry about the Roquan Smith injury, but they are still built to at least slow down this Saints offense. I agree with Bernie's look that this is going to change when Kamara is announced, but I think there's a ton of value in taking the Bears here.
Very interesting. Well, let's see if Bebsie pulls the trigger here. Let's talk about these New Orleans Saints. Without any running backs due to COVID, the Saints destroyed the Panthers 33-7 in Carolina. I would have gone 3-2 this week if I didn't add any action. And one of the stupid moves I added was Carolina +6. In 12 games, Drew Brees threw for 2,942 yards, 24 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Kamara, we expect to be in the lineup, ran for 932 yards, 16 touchdowns, caught for 756 yards, 5 touchdowns. Emmanuel Sanders caught 61 passes for 726 yards, 5 touchdowns. Saints defense ranked 4th in the NFL against the run, 93.9 yards a game. 5th against the pass, 217 yards per game. 18 interceptions, tied for 1st. 45 sacks, ranked 8th. Points allowed per game at 21.1, tied for 5th. Starting safety Marcus Williams with an ankle injury. Nickelback CJ Gardner-Johnson with COVID reserve, and defensive back DJ Swearinger with COVID reserve are all expected to be back. Michael Thomas, who was so spectacular last year and has had all the issues this year, is expected back. 2019 All-Pro returner Deontay Harris, who's been out with a neck injury. They're both eligible to come off injured reserve, Thomas and Harris. Latavius Murray is expected to be back as well. It's not clear whether Marcus Williams, who's missed last 2 games with an ankle injury, will be ready. Receiver Traquan Smith is not eligible to come off injured reserve until 2nd game. So, extremely interesting, Bebsie. Are you going to move on the Bears plus 10.5? And what do you think of this total at 47?
I'm not going to move on it yet because I think you could get even more value. I think the public will be heavy on the Saints, and I do think it'll move a bit when Kamara is announced in. So I'm going to sit back and wait. I also think this is a sneaky over. I really think both of these teams seem to hit their overs a lot. And I wonder if it's just low because the Saints defense, in theory, should be able to shut down this Bears offense and vice versa. I don't know. Am I crazy to think this is an over thing?
No, absolutely not. A lot of the cappers are talking about that. JT on that. There's a lot of guys that I was reading were on that.
And I think this over moves up.
Birdie as well on the over. And that's what he was saying. He was saying when Kamara's announced. Says bet the over now.
Yeah, well, I think I'm going to. I think I'm going to join the Birdman on this one and JT.
Chicago Bears team total in the first half is very low. 7.5.
The Bears team total for the first half is 7.5?
Yeah. That's too low, man.
That's so low.
Okay. Wow. Okay. I don't know. I mean, of course, I wasn't going to get a 9.5, but all right, Bebsie, is there anything you want to make official?
Yeah, I'm gonna take the over in this one.
All right, let's line chop for Bebsie here in the total. Full game total. And a 47.5 is available at BetMGM, DraftKings, and FanDuel, and BetRivers. DraftKings has the lowest juice at minus 112, so let's get Bebsie that. So Bebsie is on the under 47.5 at minus 112 from DraftKings. Arthur Mead Jr. says they're begging you to take the first half team total over for the Bears.
They really are. That's scary low, and it makes me worry about the full game over.
Well, in saying that, Bebsie, you expect the Bears to help out.
Sure.
The team total for the Saints is 29.5. The team total for the Bears is at 17.5 right now and is heavily juiced to the under. Do you think the Bears go over 17.5? I don't.
I think they're certainly going to struggle.
I don't think they go for over 17.5 points. Gas Station says Bears Saints is a dead nuts under. Wow, 17.5 for full game and 7.5 for under. I want Bears team total unders. But Dennis says it's 24-21 Chicago. Dennis says Elephant Man balls. Mateo says Bears D special teams can score. I think this. Okay, how strong is the Saints defense to you, Bebsie?
The problem is they've had games where you're like, there was a stretch in the middle of the season where they were incredible. They were dominating teams, but out the gates they weren't very strong, and down the stretch they weren't very strong. I know injuries play a factor in it, but they just haven't been consistent enough for me to love them that much. Look, when they were mid-season form and relatively healthy, they were dominant. Are they there? I don't know if they are.
I want Bears team total unders. It scares me that Dennis thinks the Bears could shock the world. Dennis says, what's the Bears' first quarter team total? Is it available? Yes, it's. Oh, man, Betsy. The Bears' first quarter team total is 0.5.
Wow. What if they get a safety?
It's a half point. Oh, man. A half point. I don't know. I don't remember that. We have a question as to where the money is. It's a little early in the week, so I don't like putting too much into it this early. Now, if you pay for a real nice site to give you the, and there's a couple sites that are very expensive to give you the best information for where the money is, then it's different. But for these public sites, I'm a little hesitant. But here for the total, we have 75% of cash on the under, 63% of tickets on the over. Holy shit. So that was important to ask. So thank you. So some big money bets are being bet on the under, quantity of action on the over.
Why is it a half? Like Dan Kelly's saying, why wouldn't it be 1.5?
It's juiced to the under as well. Okay, well, I've seen enough.
I want to take that, but it'll be something where I'll be just livid if it hits, and it just seems like such a silly bet.
It's so silly. Okay, I am, and yes, Brady, the total has moved. It's moved a half point. Let me just verify that again quickly. Yes, it's moved a half point. 47.5 down to 47. Okay, I'm going to take the Bears team total unders. Full game, first half.
Take first quarter, too.
No, I can't. Okay, Bebsie, you're on the under. Oh, no, sorry. You're on the – oh, shit, I gave you that wrong. You're on the over 47.5 total.
Yeah.
Sorry, I screwed that up when I was doing that. The over 47.5, you can get minus 105 juice. Minus 105 at BetMGM and FanDuel. So I'll give you FanDuel over 47.5. My fault. That was over 47.5 minus 105 at FanDuel. But the indicator books are that it's going down. 4,633 yards, 40 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions.